Mr. Secretary, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a high honor, a distinct pleasure to extend to all of you who have come to be with us today a cordial Woods Hole welcome. This is somewhat an unusual ceremony. We are gathered here today to participate in. In fact, I must confess to you, we had some concern as to the nature of the ceremony and the appropriateness of particular terminology. It was obviously not possible to have our new ship slide down the ways and be launched in classical fashion. It seemed unwise to have her dangling from a crane and be immersed immediately after the christening. Also, with her crew of 2, we are not of a mind to set a watch, as is usual in commissioning ceremonies. But it does seem to us wholly fitting and proper that the ceremonies for this unique craft be somewhat unique in themselves. Many people have contributed to the success of this project. We are honored to have some of them on the platform with us today. Each of them have participated in one phase or another of the Alvin project in its conception or construction. Alvin is the result of a cooperative effort of a 3-way sort of team, funded as it has been by the United States Navy through ONR, a group here from Woods Hole representing the private laboratories and oceanographic community, and a very great contribution from industry. This has been a large and diverse team. To coordinate this team and to spark plug the entire project, we have been most fortunate in having Captain C.B. Momsen, Jr. just in the right spot at the right time. Captain Momsen.
Alvin, which we're here today to dedicate, is a tool for oceanographic research. It has been the hope of the Office of Naval Research from the outset, and certainly now, that it will lead us into entire new fields of research in the ocean, and naturally from my point of view, to entirely different techniques and approaches to the field of undersea warfare. Oceanography and undersea warfare, as I've indicated, are closely intertwined. It's difficult for me and my job in ONR to distinguish clearly between what is oceanography and what is directly supporting undersea warfare, and I have not tried to make that distinction. Alvin, I think, in the long run will contribute both to the cultural and to the military arts. As I close, I would like to wish Alvin, the crew, and the scientists who will be running programs using this new tool well, and good luck and good sailing. Thank you.
The conception of an idea, a theory or hypothesis, and the execution of the work necessary to fulfill the objective of the idea often requires talents and capabilities of many different types. Less than 2 years ago, a contract for a research submarine to extend greatly our capability for research in the deep sea was entered into by the Electronics Division of General Mills and the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Subsequent to that time, an and after the construction of Alvin was started, Litton Industries purchased the portion of General Mills that had undertaken this unusual venture. Mr. George Scharffenberger, Senior Vice President, Litton Industries.
Litton Industries is indeed proud of the accomplishment of the scientists of its Applied Science Division in Minneapolis, who, working with the dedicated members of the WHOI Oceanographic Institution and of the members of the Office of Naval Research, have produced the research vehicle to be commissioned here today. It has been said that in the past 100 years, greater technological progress has been made than in the whole of human life in all of the periods before that time. But I think it is even more significant that it is now forecast that in the next decade ahead of us, there will even be greater advances. Much has been said of the possibilities resulting from the exploration of outer space, but relatively little until recently with respect to the enormous areas below our seas. In my thinking, much of the technological breakthroughs which will take place in this next decade or so will be in that area. Breakthroughs which will have real and significant and meaningful values to the lives of all of us in the world today. These breakthroughs will relate to the production of food, the discovery of minerals, and perhaps even the discovery of water sources which are not even dreamed of today. All the foregoing gives us reason for our pride in the opportunity to participate in the development and production of this vehicle which you see before you. And equally important, by reason of the opportunity given us by our good friends of WHOI Oceanographic Institution, are we indeed proud to be with you here today. We have been supported by an unusual and excellent group of subcontractors, and we share with them the pride in this significant accomplishment and join with them in wishing the very best of success to the men who will utilize this vehicle in moving our science frontiers ahead. Thank you.
Expansion of oceanography here in Woods Hole to our present size has been largely the result of government support. This support has been available in large part because of the recognized importance of oceanography to our nation. We are indeed grateful that we in this country have the sympathetic understanding of responsible people in our federal government. Officials who understand the importance of providing the tools of research, such as this research submarine, and also understanding the necessity of providing the necessary freedom to the scientists who undertake to search out the mysteries of nature. It is a special point of pride to scientists, and I believe it should be to all citizens, that we have outstanding scientists who are willing to participate in the formation of government policy. Without men of great ability who are held in high esteem, assisting in every aspect of government, our nation would be in great jeopardy. Our principal speaker today is a man who has made many major contributions to the successful interpretation of science in the formation of public policy. And he has had a large part in the expansion of oceanography in recent years. In fact, today is significant because it commemorates not only a new and highly significant step in oceanography, but because it is an important anniversary as well. For it was just 5 years ago today that President Eisenhower appointed James H. Wakelin, Jr. to be Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research and Development. He has served with great distinction under 3 presidents in this capacity. He was the first scientist to hold this office and his tenure has exceeded that of his predecessors. We note today with regret that he plans to pass this mantle of office on to another in the near future. Thus, I think it is appropriate on this anniversary date for us to express our sincere thanks for his many contributions to oceanography. In the past 5 years, Dr. Wakelin has pioneered in raising cooperation among federal agencies to a new high level. He was instrumental in having established the Interagency Committee on Oceanography, which has very effectively coordinated the activities of all federal agencies active in this field, and he has served as its chairman since its inception. For 2 decades now, the Navy has been a chief sponsor of this laboratory, and in all those years, we have never had a better friend within the Navy than Dr. Wakelin. So today we want to express publicly our personal gratitude and heartfelt thanks for your assistance, sir. Thus it is with great pride and personal pleasure that I present to you the Honorable James H. Wakelin. Mr. Secretary.
Particularly to me today, this is more than a significant event. This is a historic occasion. This is the first of a series of crafts which will have a deep ocean capability for working at extreme depths. You'll recall that just after I took office in '59, the Trieste was configured to go down on a test dive in the Marianas Trench of the Challenger Deep off Guam, and did in fact accomplish reaching the bottom there at 35,800 feet. While this was a notable first and an important first, we in the Navy regarded this in somewhat of a different context than just being a first. This showed us that we needed unusual capabilities to get to deep depths, and that we would be faced with many serious engineering problems of a practical nature before we could accomplish with relative ease the ability to work on the ocean floor. Quite often we're intrigued by altitude records, speed records, and we tend to think of machines rather than the people and the purpose for which the machines were designed. And this isn't unique to the deep submersible craft that we see before us today. In aviation, as you know, we have started with propeller-driven planes and have gone on to demand flight. In aerospace, and we have followed the tremendous strides in aeronautical technology during the past 50 years. The same kind of technology, in a different sense, will be, I'm sure, appropriate to the field of oceanography in the next 50 years, and we've just seen the beginning of it here today. Alvin will be configured for research purposes, and it's going to go places and do things, and the men who are privileged to dive in Alvin are going to make news for years to come. Many of us in the Navy, in industry, and here at Woods Hole, who have helped to conceive the idea and the concept and the actual growth of Alvin, will be dedicated, I hope, to its use in basic research, important not only to the Navy, but to the national welfare. I have in mind, and I'm not being fanciful, but I think when one looks forward in the next 50 years, one might think of a category of tasks for deep ocean surveys and deep ocean work. And I have in mind deep diving submersibles to perform a series of tasks: geological, geophysical exploration, perhaps in the assistance to drilling oil wells, mine minerals over the 71% of the Earth's surface covered by the oceans, tools to build underwater structures, perhaps eventually villages beneath the sea, and the deep diving submarines for tracking and observing commercially valuable fish, for fishing and aquaculture, and even for expanding our already flourishing seaborne commerce. Now, such predictions, however fanciful they may sound to you, are going to require an expanded knowledge of the sea as a three-dimensional structure. This knowledge can only be developed through scientific research, and the job is so big that vehicles needed for the research must be designed and built for this particular purpose. With Alvin, we can greatly accelerate the exploration of the oceans. Nearly 1/2 of the ocean volume lies within capabilities for Alvin, and Alvin will be able to explore at least 1/6 of the ocean's bottom, an area almost equal to the surface of the moon. Alvin will help to solve many of the practical problems long tolerated but never really accepted by the seagoing scientist. I understand there's a saying among biologists that towing a net through the ocean is like running madly through an open field blindfolded, holding a butterfly net above one's head. Alvin will put the biologist where he can do some good in this regard, in the center of the marine environment with his net and with his eyes open. And here he will be able to observe directly concentrations and behavior of marine populations. The interaction of animal life and the environment can be studied in situ throughout the ocean column. In addition, the marine geologist would like to do work on the ocean floor just as he does on land. Walk or fly over areas of interest, collect specimens, and study and map significant features and phenomena. Alvin is the first step toward eliminating present blind, hit-or-miss methods of bottom sampling. The geologist, instead of groping awkwardly from a rolling platform thousands of feet above the rock floor, will finally be able to make discriminating personal observations. Samples can be collected with Alvin's mechanical arm and photographs taken with its cameras. The vessel also promises to be of great value to physical oceanography. The speed and the direction of undersea currents can be more accurately measured. As Alvin drifts slowly downward through the water column and uses its propellers for vertical movement, scientists can obtain continuous profiles of temperature, salinity, and other water characteristics. There are other potential uses of Alvin, some of which cannot even be anticipated, as this research tool extends the eyes and ears of oceanographers to the unexplored regions of the ocean's deep frontier. Alvin and the deep research vehicles that will undoubtedly follow her, perhaps of the same and perhaps of different configuration, promise sufficiently exciting dividends that I have requested the Interagency Committee on Oceanography to prepare a plan that would allow our member agencies to apply this unique tool to problems important to national security, to their missions, and to the country's welfare. And I believe our optimism is indeed well-founded. Future development and wider use of the deep research vehicle will depend in large measure on operational experience and on research results. To all the men who have helped plan, design, and construct Alvin, we can say to you that you've done your job magnificently. To the men who will operate this pioneer submarine and conduct its research program, we wish all of you well, and note with a touch of envy the exciting challenges that await you on the ocean's deep frontier. Thank you very much.
Today we add a unique research vessel to our fleet. We think of all our fine vessels as tools for science to accomplish a purpose, as Dr. Wakelin has so elegantly pointed out. But in Alvin, we are clearly fulfilling a need and a purpose that is rather different than that fulfilled by our other ships. Clearly, this has been the result of the vision and work of many people and the efforts of a dedicated team. The choice of the name Alvin, which originated almost spontaneously within this team, we chose to honor an oceanographer whose vision extends beyond the horizons set by most of the rest of us. It is with a great deal of personal regret that Allan Vine is not here with us today. And it's typical of his life that Allan Vine is right now probably 3 or 4 miles deep in the Atlantic Ocean, seeing things never before seen by the eye of man. The scientific program which Mr. Vine is participating in, known as Operation Deep Scan, has just today sent us the following message. Members of Operation Deep Scan, ashore, afloat, and submerged, join in sending their best wishes to a fine new addition to the family of submersibles for scientific work, and to the many assembled individuals who through their encouragement and effort have made Alvin possible. And from Allan Vine himself, just before he started the dive, the message as follows. I regret that an unfortunate delay in a long-arranged international diving schedule requires my missing so many old friends and supporters of research submarines. The planned dive of the Archimede is down the north wall of the Puerto Rican Trench at 20 degrees north, 65 degrees west, where so many of you have worked, and where the research vessel Conrad has just placed a buoy and dropped fortune cookies. I will explain these are markers on the bottom to guide the deep divers after completing extensive coring, photographic, and seismic coverage. Best regards to all, Allan Vine. Allan's contributions to oceanography are indeed too numerous to tabulate. After completing his formal education at Hiram College and Lehigh University, he came to Woods Hole in 1940, and this has been his base of operations ever since. I say his base of operations because his sphere of activities is worldwide. He has participated in research cruises, many of them on our own vessels, served in World War II as a U.S. Navy technician on board many Navy vessels and especially on submarines. Last week in Italy, in talking to Captain Jacques Cousteau and his explaining about his new stable platform in the Mediterranean, he said, all we have done is to carry out the ideas that Alvin has been talking about for almost 20 years. He has truly served as ambassador at large and a Woods Hole missionary to the oceanographic world. He was a member of the Deep Submergent Systems Group, which Secretary Wakelin spoke about. And rather than cite his many accomplishments, I would like just to read a letter from Admiral Ed Steffen, who headed up this group. Dear Dr. Vine, Mr. Allan Vine has just completed his temporary assignment with the Deep Submergent Systems Review Group. He has served most commendably as a special consultant to the chairman. My purpose in writing is to attempt an almost impossible task, that of expressing the deep gratitude and sincere appreciation of my entire staff and myself for the invaluable services rendered this group by Mr. Vine. Most surely our mission could not have been successfully completed without his capable assistance. Mr. Vine's professional competence, his dedication to a most difficult and trying task, his qualities of leadership, his ready wit have been an inspiration to all his colleagues and associates. It has been a most rewarding experience, an honor, and a personal pleasure to have the opportunity for this association. Professionally and personally, he reflects the highest credit on American scientists and particularly on the staff of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Signed, sincerely yours, Admiral Ed Steffen. Today we do miss Allan. We wish he were with us, but it is most appropriate. We are delighted to have his lovely and talented wife as the sponsor of Allan. I will now ask her to christen the vessel.
I christen thee Alvin. I know Allan is sorry not to be with you and greet you all, but I also know he's doing what he has hoped to do for at least over a year, specifically over a year. He's wanted to make deep dives for many years, but this specific dive he has worked on for over a year. And all I can say is that we both wish the Alvin many, many profitable dives.
I now declare the research vessel Alvin to be in commission and to dedicate her to the large tasks ahead. We have faith that success will attend these efforts and pledge ourselves to support them in every way possible.